Hey everyone, Jon Miller here. I am the CMO here at Demandbase, and today I want to talk about a new concept called account-based experience, which in many ways is the next generation of account-based marketing. So let's dive right in. Before I joined Demandbase, I was the CEO and founder at Engagio. We merged Engagio and Demandbase together last June to create the best account-based platform. But many of you may know me better from my days in the prior job where I was the CMO and co-founder at Marketo. And that's really where I want to kind of start this story. In the mid-2000s, when we started Marketo, inbound marketing and demand generation really revolutionized the way that B2B brands go to market. The promise was exciting for no more interruption-based one-way marketing, no more disconnected sales and marketing teams, no more spray and pray. It was a hugely exciting time and a completely new model. But it turns out it was also flawed. We discovered that we had very little control over which companies raised their hands and that far too many of them weren't a good fit. And marketing sales teams ended up wasting a lot of time and energy on unqualified leads, and the alignment never really got better. And that's partly what led me to leave Marketo to start Engagio. In around 2015, we saw the explosive rise of account-based marketing, or ABM. I described this as an analogy. The traditional model was fishing with nets. We didn't care which fish we caught, we just cared, do we catch enough? But this new model of ABM was fishing with spears, where we would find the big companies and reach out to them. So for the first time, we could really focus on specific name list of qualified accounts, which meant no more wasting budget marketing to companies that weren't a good fit and no more spending money to attract companies that sales didn't want to talk to. And this was pretty exciting too. But even then, for all its benefits, these early ABM efforts were also flawed. Partly, the name account-based marketing implies these didn't involve sales. But the real problem is that by its very nature, traditional ABM focused on identifying these valuable accounts and attempting to engage them, regardless of whether the time was right or if they were even interested in hearing from us at all. And that's precisely the kind of experience buyers hate. But simply, getting poked by a spear doesn't feel very good. And this is where account-based experience comes in. It's all about engaging with business buyers with relevant messages delivered in a trusted way on their own terms. ABX is a fundamental customer-centric rethinking of how companies go to market. It's rooted in an intense focus on the customer at every stage of the buying cycle, using intelligent insights to know when and how to engage and what to say to each account. In a way, this makes ABX a specific discipline inside customer experience, or CX. CX is the rage for all the good reasons. The impressions our customers have on us as they move through their journey drives revenue, retention, satisfaction. And so account-based experience takes these principles from the best CX, things like trust and empathy and relevance at every stage of the journey, and applies them to the account-based world. So let's go a little deeper into what I mean by the buyer experience. To say that modern buyers are overwhelmed with information has actually become a cliche, and yet it's as true as ever. B2B companies have deluged our poor buyers with so much information: blogs, ebooks, webinars, product reviews, videos, emails, phone calls, you name it. Gartner actually has done some research and finds that all this information can actually make it harder to close a sale. The sheer quantity of the information is so overwhelming, and while often appearing trustworthy, can be contradictory, that buyers sort of don't even really know what to do. And that means today's modern buyer is harder to reach than ever. They're so overwhelmed, they don't want to be marketed to, they don't want to feel sold to, and they're letting us know by opting out, tuning out, and tossing out any unwanted interruptions. Buyers, they have gotten really smart about forms. They know if they come to the site and fill out a form, they're going to get unwanted calls, which they don't want. And so they do everything they can to stay anonymous. And if you actually do try to reach out to them at the wrong time, they're going to take a perverse joy in hitting the spam button on unwanted sales outreach. You know, what's happening instead is buyers are doing their research before they talk to the sales team. And like, that's not new news. I've been talking about that trend for 15 years. But the biggest change is that, you know, 10 years ago, a lot of that research was happening on our own website, which meant we could use marketing automation like Marketo to observe the behavior. But today, these buyers that want to stay anonymous, don't want to get emailed or called, are doing more of their research on third-party sites, which is anonymous and hidden to traditional marketing automation. And as a result of all this, buyers are just spending not that much time with vendors. You know, if you think about only 17% of the buying process is meeting with vendors, and that's spread across multiple vendors, each vendor is maybe getting 5 or 6% of the whole process. Instead, they're spending a lot of time talking to each other in the buying community. So all of this really puts B2B companies, puts us into a remarkable quandary. You know, on the one hand, we want to respect our buyers and not interrupt them with unwanted outreach. But on the other hand, the prospects are conducting much of their buying journey on their own, online, anonymously. And if we just sit around and wait for them to fill out a contact me form, we've waited too long. By then, the prospect has learned a lot, formed their opinions, and they may even have a preferred vendor in mind, which is probably not you. You know, even worse is if a competitor closes the deal before you even have a chance to engage. That really hurts. You know, but that's exactly why we have account-based experience as the answer. Account-based experience resolves this dilemma. It aligns your go-to-market efforts to the account journey. With ABX, you know where the account is in the buying process, and you engage with the right kinds of interactions at each step of the way. ABX lets us work with buying teams on their own terms, anonymously when they want to be, helpful and relevant when they're ready, and always based on trust. It's a much better customer experience, and it delivers much better long-term results. So let's take a look at some of the pieces of this definition of account-based marketing. Sorry, account-based experience. So first off, it is a go-to-market strategy. This is not a campaign or a tactic. It is a fundamental way of thinking about your B2B go-to-market efforts. Second, it uses research and AI to know when and how to engage and what to say to create a relevant experience. Third, as I alluded to earlier, the problem with ABM is it's just marketing, whereas ABX is a bigger umbrella. It's really an orchestrated process that spans all the go-to-market functions, marketing, sales, even operations. And last but not least, it touches all aspects of the full customer journey, including how you build your brand, how you build pipeline, opportunities, even post-sale, retention, expansion, things like that. So I hope you see why I think ABX is the next big thing, and I hope that you see the power and inevitability of it, and are starting to think about how you can apply it to your own business. So now it's really time to talk about how do you actually do it. And for that, I want to begin with sort of the single most important concept, which, as we talked about, is the buyer's journey. So what do we mean by the buyer's journey? Well, we'll talk a lot more about this, but I like to start with this awesome research from Gartner about the 6 buying jobs. They say that before a B2B company can make a decision, can make a purchase, they need to effectively accomplish all 6 of these things in the buyer committee, whether it's identifying the problem all the way down to, once you've made the decision, feeling good about that decision and getting everyone on board. This is a great way to think about your content strategy. Does your content help your customers answer these 6 questions? However, Gartner also goes on to say that buyers do not go through those 6 questions in a nice linear process. And as a matter of fact, it looks very chaotic, forward and backwards and up and down and left and right, all over before they sort of get to the purchase. So what does this mean for us as a vendor? Because we want to put some way of kind of understanding of what's going on here, even why buyers follow this very nonlinear process. And I think American football provides actually the perfect analogy for us here. Because if you think about the path a football takes as it goes towards the end zone, it's a very nonlinear process. It's up and down and left and right and all over the field. However, even then, the yard lines on the field tell us something really useful. They tell us, how close are we to scoring? They give us insights about what kinds of plays we should run. If we're on the 5-yard line ready to score, we might run the ball. But if we're 3rd and 20, we're probably going to pass, for example. So, even though the ball follows a non-linear process, putting linear yard lines really does help us provide some structure to the overall process. And that's where funnels come in. And funnels have a long history in the account-based world, whether it's the serious decisions, demand unit waterfall, or something else. We've all really learned to live with these. And I'm just pointing out that they are complementary with a nonlinear process. But where the change needs to happen is we need to move away from lead-based funnels, things like MQLs and SQLs and AQLs. Becky Scarborough is the VP of Account-Based Experience Evangelism here at Demandbase. And, she's ready to declare the MQL dead. Todd Berkowitz from Gartner says it's time to move on, from the MQL. So if we're moving on from the MQL, what are we moving to? Well, instead of a lead-based waterfall, we should be using an account-based waterfall. And instead of the MQL, we should be using the MQA. The MQA is sort of this magic idea in account-based experience. The concept is that there are times when these otherwise overwhelmed buyers who normally would be resisting marketing and sales outreach actually want to hear from vendors. If we can find these magic moments, we can help the buyer and significantly increase our chance of winning their business. So our goal is to spot these receptive, information-hungry buyers early, right when they're starting their research, and that way we can guide the conversation, earn their trust, and ultimately win the deal. So how do we find these MQAs? How do we understand where the buyer is in their journey? I like to use this FIRE acronym to kind of help us figure it out. It's all about predictive analytics and looking at the behavior patterns and then mapping from there. So looking at FIRE, the F in FIRE really stands for fit. This is how well does this account match your ideal customer profile? Are they qualified for you? Do they look like your best customers? The I stands for intent. Intent is the ability to track what content people are reading out on the open web, track their behaviors off of your own site, and use that to see which companies are showing interest in your products or your competitors. And when you see surges in intent, that can be a sign that they're entering in that buying cycle. The R stands for relationship. This is your context and your history with the account. Do you have open opportunities or lost opportunities? Do your salespeople already emailing them? Because you don't want to tell a salesperson to call an account that they already know about. And lastly, the E in FIRE stands for engagement. This is time spent with you, coming to your website, downloading your content, attending your events, and so on. And then all 4 of these combine together into something that we call Pipeline Predict. And this is really the ability to look at the pattern of behaviors that accounts show as they lead up to becoming an opportunity with you, and then matching other accounts that have similar patterns of behaviors. Once you have all these scores in place, you can use them to then map where each account is into a buyer's journey. Now, these are the set of stages that we have and that we define out of the box, but you should customize these, adjust, add more stages, make them match your own business. But kind of out of the box, what we do here is at the top, qualified, this is that fit score. Is this account somebody who we would want to go after? Moving down, are they showing awareness for our category? Do they have intent? So they're still not engaging with us, but they're a little bit, deeper down. Are they engaged? Now they're coming to our website and so on. And then the MQA is that magic moment, the high pipeline predict score that says they look like accounts tend to look as they enter into that opportunity stage. Now it's time to reach out. Opportunity, customer, post-sale, these are all very, very sensible, concepts. So the core idea in ABX, if you take anything away from today's whole talk, is that you want to match how you do your go-to-market to where they are in their journey. So if somebody's in the qualified stage, don't be calling them. Don't try to set up a meeting. They're not even aware of your industry or your category, right? So just focus on building your brand on a foundation of trust. Emotion really matters here. Now, as an account is moving down, okay, maybe they're aware, maybe they're just starting to engage with you. Here, you're going to move from emotion to logic with thought leadership, education, white papers, best practices, but you're still not trying to get that meeting yet because that would be premature. Then, boom, they show buying intent. They're in the MQA stage. Now you want to reach out to them before they even come to you with a very coordinated, targeted outreach that spans marketing, sales development, an orchestrated set of interactions. You can continue, even when they're an open opportunity, keep marketing to them, focusing on that validation and consensus building for the entire buying committee. And then even once they're a customer, now it's a different set of things. You can focus on the post-sale experience, adoption, and expansion. And across all of these, make sure you're using deep account insights so that each interaction is relevant and useful. Ultimately, that is a good experience for the account. That's sort of the key concept here that we're talking about. Now, how do you actually do this? How do you go put this into practice? Well, it turns out I've identified 5 core ABX processes. The first is about just getting your data organized, building your account-based foundation, bringing all the information, third-party data, firmographics, technographics, intent data, first-party data from your website, your marketing automation, and so on, into a single view so you can really understand everything about these accounts. Once you've done that, you can do the work of using FIRE to find the accounts that really matter, tier them, group them, etc., and now engage them, build the campaigns, advertising, direct mail, email, SDR outreach, all orchestrated together. Close them. This is a marketing and sales process. So how do you make sure that that process is working perfectly? And then last but not least, you're going to measure everything and how it works. Now, I could talk for hours about all of these 5 different pieces. What I've actually done, though, is I've written the book. I'm very proud to announce that next, in May, I will be releasing my latest book, The Clearing Complete Guide to Account-Based Experience, which is going to have 250 pages of practical advice and best practices for how to actually do all this stuff that we sort of been talking about today. You can go to demandbase.com/ABX and reserve your copy today. And with that, we're all wrapped up. So as a reminder, account-based experience is a go-to-market strategy that's all about using data and insights to orchestrate relevant marketing and sales actions throughout the journey. And, the most important concept is know where the account is in the journey and make sure you're having a go-to-market, marketing and sales, that is the right experience for where they are. I hope this has been helpful. I would love to answer questions or follow up. So find me online. And as always, you're the best. Thank you very much and take care.